A house divided. Albania's political landscape is sharply divided. Two main parties dominate, the Socialist Party, or PS, and the Democratic Party, known as PD. The PS, currently in power, leans centre-left. Prime Minister Edi Rama, known for his focus on modernisation, leads the party. Rama champions EU accession and economic growth. However, accusations of corruption have plagued his tenure. The PD, the primary opposition, sits on the centre-right. Led by Sali Berisha, the party promotes a staunchly nationalist agenda. They rail against corruption and position themselves as the voice of the people against the elite. However, the PD also faces serious allegations of corruption. Berisha himself is banned from entering both the US and the UK due to these allegations. Adding to the complexity, smaller parties like the Freedom Party, or PL, have lost ground in recent years. The PL, also centre-right, shares the PD's focus on anti-corruption. However, with its leader, Ilir Meta, currently under arrest for corruption, the party's influence has waned. This polarized political landscape sets the stage for a dramatic power struggle, particularly in the wake of the upcoming 2025 parliamentary elections. The PS, seeking a fourth term, faces a significant challenge from the PD, which is employing increasingly controversial tactics. The stakes are high, with Albania's future direction hanging in the balance. The PD, under Berisha's leadership, has increasingly embraced tactics reminiscent of the American far right. In a move that raised eyebrows internationally, Berisha hired Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Chris Lasivita. This strategic decision signaled a shift towards a more populist, confrontational approach. The PD's rhetoric echoes Trump's signature style. "Make Albania great" has become a common refrain at rallies, a clear nod to Trump's "Make America Great Again" slogan. This populist message resonates with some segments of the population who feel left behind by the country's economic progress. Beyond rhetoric, the PD's connections to the American far right run deep. The party has hired Continental Strategy, a Republican lobbying firm, to represent its interests in the US. This firm boasts ties to Trump-connected figures like Carlos Trujillo and Alberto Martinez. The primary goal of this lobbying effort is to overturn US sanctions against Berisha, a move that has drawn criticism from human rights groups. This close alignment with the American far right raises concerns about the PD's commitment to democratic norms and values. Critics argue that the party's embrace of Trumpian tactics undermines the integrity of Albanian democracy and could have long-term consequences for the country's stability. The PD's embrace of American far-right tactics has significant implications for Albania's EU accession ambitions. The EU, which places a high value on democratic values, rule of law and human rights, has expressed concern over the PD's direction. The party's close ties to figures associated with the January 6th Capitol riot in the US have further fueled these concerns. Albania's EU accession process, already complex and fraught with challenges, is further complicated by these developments. The EU has made it clear that addressing corruption and strengthening the rule of law are crucial for Albania's progress towards membership. However, the PD's tactics, seen by some as undermining these very principles, threaten to derail the country's EU aspirations. The PD's stance on EU accession is also ambiguous. While the party officially supports joining the bloc, its rhetoric often suggests a more skeptical view of European integration. This ambivalence further muddies the waters and raises questions about the party's true commitment to EU membership. The influence of the American far right on the PD has the potential to push Albania further away from its European path. The EU's emphasis on democratic values and the rule of law clashes with the populist, anti-establishment rhetoric espoused by the PD. This tension could have long-lasting consequences for Albania's relationship with the EU and its aspirations for European integration. Amidst the political turmoil and the shadow of American far-right influence, a glimmer of hope emerges from new political movements in Albania. These movements, often led by young people and driven by a desire for change, offer an alternative to the established political order. One such movement, Levica Bashke, or Together movement, has gained traction for its focus on democratic values, transparency, and addressing the needs of ordinary citizens. Unlike the established parties, Levica Bashke has not been tainted by accusations of corruption and presents itself as a fresh start for Albanian politics. These new movements, while still in their nascent stages, represent a potential turning point for Albanian democracy. They offer a different vision for the country's future, one based on inclusivity, transparency, and a commitment to democratic values. Whether they can successfully challenge the dominance of the established parties and bring about real change remains to be seen. The future of Albanian politics hangs in the balance. The influence of the American far right on the PD threatens to undermine the country's democratic foundations and derail its EU aspirations. However, the emergence of new political movements offers a glimmer of hope for a more inclusive and democratic future. The upcoming 2025 elections will be a crucial test for Albanian democracy, determining whether the country will continue down a path of division and instability or embrace a new era of hope and progress.